Hey guys, Level Cap here, and it's been a while since I've done an episode of Sniper Sunday. I've really enjoyed this series where I get to explore a sniper class using a very specific weapon loadout of my choosing, reviewing it, talking about it, and talking about some strategies for doing better with the scout class. Now normally my go-to sniper rifle is the SMLE marksman variant, but I've been playing with that gun so much I decided to switch it up and go to sort of my second favorite sniper rifle, which is the Russian 1895 Sniper. This one's a bit more effective at range. Not only does it have a magnified scope so I can really zero in on those headshots, but it's also got a better damage sweet spot for longer range targets. I've also decided to run with the Mars automatic sidearm. People were a bit upset that I didn't mention it in my best sidearms video, so I decided to get a bit of gameplay under my belt using this pistol and sort of give you a more in-depth review or my opinion of the Mars automatic. Then I also decided to throw the trench periscope in there and see if I can make any good use of it. It's one of those gadgets that not a lot of people have been using, and I haven't really paid much attention to it because I've never liked the description, but it's always fun to try and make something work and maybe see if there is some more use to it than you initially thought. Now, even though I'm playing on the assaulting team here, I've somehow managed to get in the defending team's pillbox and actually use it pretty effectively as the assaulting team tried to push up on our A point. I was basically wrecking them from B point and having a good time. Sniping from the pillbox is great. It keeps you covered on most angles, and anybody that can see you, you can see them, so you probably have the advantage in that situation. Now, I'm definitely playing a 64-player operations game mode on Kaiserschlatt, and this is like my favorite operations map. I absolutely love how it starts off on Scar because this is one of the few areas in the entire Battlefield 1 game where you can experience something that feels like genuine trench warfare. The first two sectors before you push into the city are pretty much pure trench combat. I mean, there's a lot of sort of open areas where you can push out into bases and stuff, but it really feels amazing. There's just like tons of mortars going off everywhere. You have to use the trenches. I love popping heads that are just peeking up over the trenches. It really feels like a great game mode, and I could absolutely play through a map that was just like 100% pure trench warfare the whole way through. Now, as much as I love the Russian 1895, one of the problems I have with it is that I'm a bit too aggressive of a player to really take advantage of the sweet spot on this rifle. Every now and then I'll find myself at that nice 60-meter mark where I can start sweet spotting people with this gun, but for the most part I find myself having to be the aggressor. There's often not a lot of aggressive people on your team or people who don't want to push up until they see somebody else push up, and I just find myself being that person as the recon. I'll put a flare in and just go in guns blazing, and in that situation the Russian 1895 really isn't going to do you any favors, though it does have some of the better hip fire accuracy out of any of the bolt action rifles. If somebody surprises you in close quarters, you can take a cheeky hip fire shot and try and get one of those shots and then switch to your sidearm to finish them off. And in this clip here, I'm just showing that the medic train is just way too powerful. The medic revives in this game are so freaking fast that even though I was able to take out like 4 guys there, they all just revived instantly because medics can revive faster than you can actually kill people. So a little bit of an imbalance in my opinion with the rate at which medics can revive people compared to previous Battlefield games. Now, when it comes to the Mars automatic sidearm, it's certainly not a bad sidearm, but the way I would classify it is that it's a great noob killer. That means if you're going up against opponents that are clearly inferior to you, this is a good sidearm in that it has a lot of damage capacity per magazine, and it's actually got some extended range over a lot of the other sidearms in the game. But if you're going up against a good player with a high damaging weapon, or they're on point and they know how to return fire quickly and accurately, the Mars automatic is not going to do you any favors. As much fun as it can be to run around with this slow firing, heavy hitting weapon, it's actually one of the slowest damaging per second sidearms in the game. So if you're looking to kill somebody as quickly as you possibly can, the Mars automatic is quite literally the worst choice. Granted, its range does give you some flexibility with getting that one-shot bolt action shot in close quarters and then switching to your sidearm to finish them off. It can be nice for that, but I'll take the 1911 over the Mars automatic any day. I won't say that it's a bad gun, and it can absolutely fit your playstyle, but generally speaking, when I try and outfit my character to be competitive, I'm giving them weapons that can defeat other really good players, and the Mars Automatic is one of those guns that's just going to fall short when going up against the skilled player. Now, I did mention that I have the trench periscope with this loadout. I've got one quick little clip of me using it here. I did try and use it a bit more, but this is probably the most effective time that I used it. I hide behind this little wall. The trench periscope can see over things, so you can spot people without having to expose yourself directly. And when you spot them, it actually gives them a red highlight around the enemy. So it makes them very easy targets for your teammates or you, should you choose to engage them. It's not like the worst gadget in the game, but ultimately I think I would prefer having a K-bullet or a tripwire bomb or something like that instead of just a periscope, because I can spot pretty well on my own. The red outline highlight isn't that useful for me, and there's only a few areas in the game in which the trench periscope is really going to benefit you from being behind cover. There's not too many places where it gives you a massive advantage. Now again, the first part of Ballroom Blitz in Operations Game Mode gives you sort of a trench warfare-like combat. It's not quite as extensive as the SCAR map, and then after the first sector on Ballroom Blitz, it opens up into much bigger fields. So the Recon class, or the Scout class rather, is much more suited for the big open field engagements, and I find it very easy to take out these two anti-aircraft gunners right here. In fact, I wish more snipers would try and hit those anti-aircraft gunners, because those are what's going to be doing the most damage to your behemoth. So if you can play your role and take out those AA units as fast as possible, it'll keep your behemoth up in the air more often, distracting the enemies, allowing you to get a lot more easy sniper shots. Now, one thing that can be a little bit tricky getting used to the Scout class in Battlefield 1 is understanding suppression mechanics. When you get suppressed, it will add a lot of random bullet deviation to your shots, enough so that you will get almost guaranteed misses even if you're lining up your scope perfectly on enemy targets. So basically, when bullets are flying over your head, especially the support class, and you get suppressed, it can cause your shot to miss completely, and that's a bit frustrating, especially if you don't understand why your shots are missing. I've never particularly liked the suppression mechanic in Battlefield 1. I think a more effective way of implementing suppression would be adding scope sway instead of random bullet deviation. That way you can try and compensate for the scope sway, and you'll at least see your shot miss rather than aiming perfectly on target and having that random deviation causing your shot to miss. I just think that would be a much better way to do it, add a bit more skill to it, and also make it more intuitive for the average player to understand what's going on. Now here I've set myself up in a position where I can get a bunch of good long-range shots, and I can be a spawn point for my squad. So provided that my squad is actually being aggressive, going in there to take the point, I don't have to do it myself, which ideally is the role you want to play as the Recon class, though I do get flanked up on from behind and eventually taken out. The Mars Automatic almost saves my ass, but I didn't realize there was a third baddie. Now the other thing you want to watch out for when using a high-powered optic for the Scout class is the scope glint. You know you're going to be giving away your position pretty obviously, especially to other Scout classes in the game, so you want to watch out for those other scope glints pretty religiously. Basically, they're your biggest threat, so I'm always going after scope glints myself, but just know that once you start aiming at people and shooting with a high-powered optic, they're going to know where you are pretty quickly. So stay moving, don't stay in sight all the time, and don't always ADS. Give them small windows to recognize that scope glint. In this last clip here, I have found myself the perfect camping spot. I can position my bipod on the corner of this rubble here, and I'm just in a great spot to stop this assault going on at C point. And basically, when you're playing the defensive side, if you're playing the Scout class, ideally you just want to be in a place to get as many kills as quickly as possible. Obviously, you want to get them off of a point if you're already on there, but if you can bleed their tickets as fast as you possibly can, then it's going to be GG. Also, make sure to use your spotting flares. Even if it's something that you don't think you're personally going to benefit from that much, it'll still let your teammates see exactly where the enemies are. So get those spotting flares out before you die. Not only will you get points from it, but you'll be helping your team a lot. Any friendly mortars on your team will absolutely start pelting anybody that you've spotted with a flare, so you can anticipate those airbursts to come in quickly. Anyway, that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of Sniper Sunday. I love the Russian 1895. I'm not crazy about the current suppression mechanics in the game, and there seems to be a few other wonky things with hitboxes and whatnot when it comes to sniping, but it's still one of the most enjoyable things to do in Battlefield 1. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.